RTI, response to intervention, it's a model that really looks at student
Now, is
data.
it the old model or the new model?
Just RTI in general.
In general.
RTI
okay.
in general.
The response, whatever
yes,
that response
response
is.
to intervention.
Okay.
So it's an instructional model
Mm-hmm.
where we look at student data to really focus in on specific areas of need.
Mm-hmm.
And we develop flexible groups, we design and implement instruction that's really geared towards the individual student.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that work at Fort River has been done in smaller groups outside of the classroom.
Okay.
And that's worked really well, and our students have made progress, and they will continue to make progress with that model.
Mm-hmm.
So we're keeping that model, but on top of that, we're layering on a more inclusive RTI model.
Okay.
So we have paired classroom teachers up with support people, which may be reading specialists, some paraeducators. I'm a support person in the second grade classroom. And so we've created these collaborative teams to deliver intervention. So basically that small group, adult-led, explicit instruction targeting specific areas that students need assistance with.
Okay.
So it could be, for instance, decoding. So here I'm talking specifically about literacy. So our more
so we're
inclusive
talking academics, not behavioral.
academics, yeah. And so there is RTI, there's a response intervention model for behavior, and we have that, that's our PBIS model. But I'm talking specifically about literacy today.
Okay.
Teams of teachers work together to design and implement interventions for students. We track their progress, we look at data, we redesign our groups every so often so it's not the same group of students working with the same teacher all the time. So it's really nice, and our kids are doing well. The benefit of students working with multiple teachers is that they develop relationships with a number of people within our learning community.
Gotcha.
Which is always nice. So that if we can increase the number of eyes and ears
Yes.
on each individual
You're
student.
increasing the support for
Exactly,
the student.
and that's the goal. And that's happening. That's happening. We at Fort River do a fantastic job really knowing our students, building relationships, building strong rapports with our kids, and really understanding their areas of strength and areas for opportunity for growth.
So there's a lot of talk about the cradle to career, and I've spoken with Marissa, who's working with the middle schoolers, but you're working with the babies, the younger people. So how would that model look differently in a elementary school than it would from a middle school, knowing that you have younger minds that you're preparing for these upper levels?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really setting the foundation, and it's our responsibility to make sure that our students are leaving Fort River with the foundation.
Yeah.
Our kids need to be able to read, they need to be able to write,
Right.
they need to be able to read and understand what they're reading, to be able to articulate. So we're setting that foundation so that they can move over to the middle school, into high school, and into the workforce, or into college, and be able to be active members in the community, to be able to read and write for a purpose.
So back to literacy, what does that look like?
So back to literacy. Basically what that looks like is making sure that students have a solid foundation with phonological awareness. They understand letters, sounds, the relationship between those so that they can read words and then take words into the phrase level, take phrases into the sentence level, into the paragraph level, and so on, so that they can read complex text and understand what they're reading and be able to respond proficiently.
Now, in terms of children when they come into the school, you have a variety of different levels. Is that a challenge in and of itself, having different people starting in different places even when they come to you?
Sure, that's a great challenge. And we have even students that have been at Fort River for a number of years, fourth graders, for instance, that started at kindergarten. There's going to be a variety of levels within the classroom. So it's challenging, but it's also, that's the work. We differentiate our instruction. We use a variety of materials. We work really hard to make sure that the lessons and materials that we use and the way that the instruction is delivered is in a way that all students can access the content and curriculum. And it's really about access. The RTI model that I'm speaking about now is making sure that all students can access the curriculum. And some students need to access the curriculum starting with basic decoding skills. Some students have solid decoding skills, so they need to be focusing on inferential, higher level comprehension.
So talk about what that means, decoding.
Decoding is being able to read the words on the page.
Okay, so decoding is reading.
Very simply put.
Okay.
Yeah, decoding is reading, different from understanding,
Okay.
different from fluency.
Okay.
So you can read something, you can decode something, but is it fluent? Are you reading at a good rate? Are you reading the words
Are you understanding what you're
accurately?
reading?
And then that's comprehension. Are you understanding what you're reading?
Okay, so decoding includes all of those components?
So you have
Or
decoding.
reading includes all of them?
Reading includes all of those components. So you
Okay.
have decoding. Once students can decode, we work a lot on fluency, so being able to read with prosody, being able to read the words at a good rate. And then once students are firm with their decoding and fluency skills, we work on comprehension.
Okay.
And there are different levels of comprehension.
Absolutely.
And that is very simply put. I mean, the science of reading is so complex, but I'm putting that very, very simply.
So what's in your plan? What's in the plan that you've written? Let's talk about that a little bit.
The school improvement plan, well, there's a lot in the plan, but tying it back to this instructional model, collaboration is really the cornerstone of the work that we're doing. It takes a lot of collaboration on our part to make sure that all students' needs are being met.
We're talking about family, we're talking about teachers, administrators, students,
Exactly.
the community
Exactly.
at large. How would the community component tie in? And help with that?
So we're working a lot with the PGO. So we've had a number of events. So just really trying to engage families and making them feel like they're a part of the learning process. Our teachers have worked really hard at really engaging families through parent conferences. We have a monthly newsletter that goes home. Actually, every 2 weeks, families are receiving newsletters. Every 2 weeks, one from me, and then on the opposite weeks, the classroom teacher sends one as well. I try hard to send at least monthly phone calls.
Wow, that's nice.
And sometimes I have something urgent I want to share, and then sometimes I don't. So I try to find something to talk about, just to keep the school sort of present in the
Now,
home.
we've got 40, I keep saying this because this excites me to know, and we've got over 40 languages spoken in our schools. How do you work with that, I don't want to say barrier, or perceived barrier, but just how do you communicate with all those different kinds of families and cultures? So language is just one component.
Right. So we do have a large number of our students come from Spanish-speaking families. So our communication to home is translated in Spanish, as are our phone calls. I'm actually learning how to speak Spanish right now, so that I can make those phone calls myself and be able to talk to families and parents face to face rather than having to run and get a translator.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard, but
but you're doing it.
It's offered me an interesting perspective to understand what families and students go through that don't speak the language and they have to be in
just you having to learn another language gives you a view into what it's like for a child in a place that doesn't speak the same language.
Right. It's hard.
That's really incredible.
It's really hard.
What have you learned from that? I mean, has that fueled your work in any way, or helped you do something differently, or have more conviction in what you're already doing?
I think it's increased a sensitivity within me, and understanding, and also has made me really mindful of thinking out of the box and coming up with new ways to communicate with all families.
That's fantastic.
And I think that there's a real excitement about a lot of the work that's done in Fort River. That's what's happening at Fort River. but particularly around the arts integration work.
Talk about that. That's fantastic.
It's fantastic to watch too. But our specialist teachers are really fantastic, and they're working with the classroom teachers to support and enhance the concepts that are taught in the classroom. For example, we had our art teacher, Nicole Singer, develop cave paintings to support the work that was done in the 6th grade social studies class. And it really made the work tangible for the kids.
Yeah. Where was that when I was growing up?
Yeah, I know, right? Right? But it really just brings a lot more meaning to the learning.
Yeah.
And when things are meaningful,
there's a physicality that goes with it
right.
too, which is very interesting.
Right, and that's the stuff that sticks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's really exciting. The equity work is really exciting. We're working with Pat Romney. She's our community partner,
wonderful.
and she is so wonderful.
Yeah.
And our staff, the staff at Fort River, there's just such a burning desire to learn more and have difficult conversations and talk about it. So since we started the equity work, we've introduced a book club. Completely, it's voluntary. So I have 11 people in this book club where we're talking about students of poverty. We also now have a social justice committee where we're thinking about action steps, actual action steps. What can we do at Fort River that's going to create a more equitable environment for our kids, which is really nice. So the equity work that we've been doing in the district has really inspired
Your work
our work and our teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really exciting
Yeah.
to know that the teachers, because sometimes it's like you're trying to convince the teachers that this work is critical, but you're saying that they're hungry for that.
They are hungry, they know it's critical, and they want more.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and they've taken a real ownership and initiative over keeping the work going and bringing it in new directions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
was great. Yeah.